The 9 remaining human ships gathered at the emergency rally point, damaged and exhausted. Captain Hyunwoo looked at the status reports and felt the weight of command crushing down on him. 3 ships destroyed, 27 crew members confirmed dead, another 43 missing in escape pods scattered across the battlefield. And the Voidborn were still out there, thousands of them. The disruption weapon had worked, but only temporarily. The bioships had reconnected to their swarm mind within minutes. They were more cautious now, keeping their distance from the human vessels. But they were still destroying what remained of the galactic fleet. "How many allied ships are left?" Hyunwoo asked. Commander Sujin checked her displays. Her face was pale and she looked ready to collapse, but her voice remained steady. 412 confirmed operational. Less than 10% of the original force. 400 ships out of 4,000. The greatest military force ever assembled reduced to a fragment. "Sir, incoming transmission from Admiral Dae-hyun," the communications officer reported. The Admiral's face appeared on screen. He looked older than before, his eyes haunted. Behind him, his command center was in chaos. Officers rushed between stations trying to coordinate the scattered survivors. "Captain Hyunwoo, status report," Dae-hyun said. 9 ships operational, sir. Limited weapons and supplies. But we are still in the fight." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "The Council representatives are calling for a full retreat. They want to abandon this sector entirely and regroup at the core worlds. What do you think, sir?" "I think if we run, the Voidborn will chase us. They will hit the core worlds with their full force and billions will die." Dae-hyun rubbed his face tiredly. "But I also think we cannot win this battle. Not with what we have left." "Sir, Commander Sujin has discovered something important about the Voidborn. May I transfer her to your channel?" A moment later, Sujin was explaining her findings to the Admiral and several alien representatives who had joined the call. She pulled up diagrams and data streams. "The Voidborn are not separate ships," she said. "They are extensions of one consciousness, like fingers on a hand. When I deployed the disruption weapon, I could trace the psionic connection back to its source, and I found something." She highlighted a point on the tactical map. "The terminus gate still swirling with purple energy. The main consciousness is still coming through the gate. It is too large to emerge all at once. Right now, only part of it is in our universe. The rest is still in whatever dimension they come from." Ambassador Krell, his mandibles clicking nervously, interrupted. "What does this matter? We cannot fight it regardless of where it is." "We can kill it," Sujin said simply. "If we collapse the gate while the consciousness is halfway through, it will sever the entity. The part in our universe will die." The channel erupted with voices. Some argued it was impossible. Others said it was too dangerous. A few simply did not believe it would work. Captain Bora from the science vessel Ulsan Explorer spoke up. "I have analyzed Commander Sujin's data. Her theory is sound. But collapsing a gate would require a massive energy release, an antimatter detonation inside the gate itself, which would require a ship to fly directly into the gate," added Ambassador Krell. "The Voidborn will destroy any vessel that approaches, and the gate's gravitational forces would tear apart any ship before it could detonate its payload." "Not any ship," Hyunwoo said quietly. "A ship that is already damaged. A ship that has nothing left to lose." Everyone understood what he meant. Envoy Lyra, the graceful crystal being who had survived against impossible odds, spoke gently. "Captain, you have already sacrificed so much. 3 of your ships are gone. Your people have fought more bravely than anyone had right to expect. No one would blame you for withdrawing now." "With respect, Envoy, I do not care about blame," Hyunwoo replied. "I care about finishing what we started." Admiral Dae-hyun straightened in his chair. "The mission will require 1 ship to carry the antimatter payload and fly into the gate. The other allied ships will create a diversion, drawing the Voidborn away from the approach vector. Every ship we have left needs to be part of that diversion," Hyunwoo said. "The Voidborn have learned to recognize our tactics. We need overwhelming force to convince them the real attack is coming from multiple directions." "Then who will make the gate run?" asked Captain Taemin. Hyunwoo looked at each of his remaining captains on the holographic display. Ji-won, her corvette barely holding together. Taemin, his destroyer almost out of ammunition. Bora, her science vessel never designed for combat. Captain Jae-sung of the support ship Jeju Wind, limping on damaged engines, and 4 others, each commanding vessels that had given everything they had. "Seoul's pride will make the run," Hyunwoo said. "We are already critically damaged. We have the mass to carry the payload, And we have Commander Su-jin, who understands the weapon better than anyone. Sir, I volunteer to... Ji-won started, but Hyun-woo cut her off. Denied. You are the best pilot we have. The other ships will need you to coordinate their attack runs. He took a breath. This is not about volunteers. This is about using our remaining resources most effectively. Soul's Pride is the logical choice. No one argued, though several looked like they wanted to. They knew he was right. The next 6 hours passed in desperate preparation. The Allied fleet gathered every functional ship. The 400 survivors were joined by nearly 200 damaged vessels that had somehow gotten their weapons back online. It was still a tiny force compared to the thousands of void-borne bioships, but it would have to be enough. The antimatter device was loaded onto Soul's Pride. It was not elegant, just a containment field holding enough antimatter to vaporize a small moon. If the containment failed early, the flagship and everything around it would cease to exist. Hyun-woo addressed his crew one final time. He gave them a choice: stay aboard for the final mission or transfer to other vessels. Every single crew member chose to stay, not out of blind loyalty or foolish bravery. They stayed because they understood that sometimes someone has to stand in the fire. The attack began at 600 hours. Ship time. The Allied fleet struck at the Voidborn from 4 directions simultaneously. Ships that had spent the last day running for their lives turned and attacked with everything they had left. The Valkyrie cruisers, graceful even in ruin, fired their crystal weapons. The Krillian destroyers, heavy and slow, became mobile fortresses. The Orenthians used their ships' natural camouflage to create ambushes, and the 8 remaining human ships led the charge. Lieutenant Commander Ji-won coordinated the attacks with precision. She had learned the Voidborn patterns, understood how they moved and thought. Under her guidance, the Allied fleet fought not as individuals but as a unified force. For the first time, they used the same tactics the humans had been using. Hit and run, ambush and fade, strike where unexpected. The Voidborn responded exactly as predicted. They concentrated their forces on these attacks, seeing them as the main threat. Thousands of bioships swarmed toward the Allied fleet, which meant they were not watching the terminus gate. Soul's Pride approached from an angle the Voidborn had not anticipated. The flagship's engines, already damaged, were pushed beyond their limits. Metal screamed. Coolant lines burst, but the ship kept moving. Voidborn ships are starting to notice us, Su-jin reported calmly. We have maybe 3 minutes before they intercept. How long until we reach detonation range? Hyun-woo asked. 4 minutes. They were going to be 1 minute short. 1 minute that might as well be an hour. Can we increase speed? The chief engineer's voice came through the speaker. Sir, if we push the engines any harder, they will explode before we reach the gate. Hyun-woo made his decision. All remaining crew, this is the captain. Evacuate to the aft escape pods. Launch immediately. Sir? Su-jin looked at him with wide eyes. That is an order, Commander. You have done your part. The ship can reach the gate on autopilot from here. With respect, sir, I refuse. Su-jin stood her ground. The autopilot cannot adjust for the gate's gravitational fluctuations. You need a pilot and a navigator, and I am the only one who fully understands the detonation sequence. Before Hyun-woo could argue, the helmsman spoke up. Captain, I am not leaving either. Someone needs to fly this ship, and you are not a pilot. One by one, the bridge crew refused to evacuate. They had come this far together. They would finish together. Hyun-woo felt pride and grief mixing in his chest. Very well. Engineering, get everyone else to the pods. Launch when ready. The escape pods launched, 23 of them, carrying most of the crew to safety. The Soul's Pride suddenly felt very empty. Voidborn ships were closing in fast now. Bioweapons struck the flagship's failing shields. Tendrils reached out, trying to grab hold. But the ship kept flying. The terminus gate filled the view screen. A massive, swirling vortex of purple energy. This close, they could see things moving inside it. Vast shapes that hurt to look at. Geometries that did not belong in normal space. Detonation range in 30 seconds, Su-jin announced. An alarm blared. A void-born command organism had appeared directly in their path, its massive bulk blocking the way to the gate. Ramming speed, Hyun-woo ordered. Commander Su-jin stood at her station, staring at the device she had built. It looked simple, just a metal cylinder about the size of a person covered in exposed wiring and cooling tubes. But inside that cylinder was technology that combined human quantum physics with theories about the Voidborn's biology. If it worked, it would save thousands of lives. If it failed, everyone who tried to deploy it would die for nothing. "The weapon is ready," she announced quietly. Captain Hyunwoo nodded. Around the bridge of Seoul's Pride, the crew went silent. They all knew what came next. "All ships, this is command," Hyunwoo spoke into the fleet channel. "We have a weapon that can hurt them. Really hurt them. But delivering it will require a deep penetration run into the heart of the swarm. I need 2 ships, one to navigate, one to deploy the weapon." Before he could continue, Lieutenant Commander Ji-won's voice cut through. "Sir, Busan Runner is fastest. We can get in." "Negative," Captain Sungmin interrupted. His medical frigate Mercy of Jeju was designed for rescue operations, not combat, but it had the strongest defensive shields in the fleet. "Speed is useless if you are destroyed before deploying the weapon. My ship can take the hits." "Both arguments have merit," Captain Taemin added, "which means you need both ships. Busan Runner navigates the path. Mercy of Jeju follows and deploys. The rest of us provide cover." Hyunwoo felt a cold weight in his stomach. Sending 2 ships meant risking 2 crews. But Taemin was right. They needed both speed and durability for this to work. "Very well," he said slowly. "Ji-won Sungmin, you have the mission. Transfer the weapon to Mercy of Jeju. Everyone else form up for a covering attack." The next 20 minutes passed in frantic preparation. The weapon was loaded onto Sungmin's medical frigate, secured in the main cargo bay. The 10 remaining human ships moved into formation, a spearhead designed to punch through enemy lines. "Final weapons check," Hyunwoo ordered. Across the fleet, crews armed missiles, charged energy weapons, and prepared every system for maximum combat output. Captain Young-ho spoke quietly on the command channel. "Sir, my ship's engines are damaged. We took a bad hit in the last engagement. We cannot keep up with full combat speed." "Then drop back," Hyunwoo said immediately. "We cannot afford—" "No, sir." Young-ho's voice was calm, almost peaceful. "I am saying my ship cannot keep up, but we can still fight. We will draw fire away from the others for as long as we can." Hyunwoo understood what the captain was really saying. The Daegu Sentinel would not survive this battle. Young-ho knew it and was volunteering anyway. "Captain," Hyunwoo started, but Young-ho interrupted. "My crew already voted. We knew what we were signing up for when we joined." "Let us do this, sir." There was nothing more to say. "Understood." "Good hunting, Captain." The 10 ships accelerated toward the thickest concentration of Voidborn vessels. They were not trying to be subtle anymore. They came in fast and loud, weapons firing constantly. The bioships noticed immediately. Hundreds of them turned away from chasing fleeing alien vessels, drawn to these aggressive newcomers. "Contact in 30 seconds, someone reported. "All ships, stay tight," Hyunwoo commanded. "Do not break formation until we are through their first layer." The Voidborn came at them like a living wave. Tendrils reached out, trying to snag the human vessels. Bioweapons spat acid and plasma. The space between the 2 forces lit up with weapons fire. The Daegu Sentinel suddenly broke formation, accelerating forward alone. Young-ho's damaged ship put itself between the rest of the fleet and the largest cluster of enemies. "What are you doing?" Ji-won shouted. "Making a path," Young-ho replied calmly. His ship's weapons opened fire at maximum rate, no longer conserving ammunition. Missiles launched in entire racks at once. Every energy weapon fired continuously until the barrels glowed red-hot. The Voidborn focused on the Daegu Sentinel like antibodies attacking a virus. Dozens of bioships swarmed around it. Young-ho's shields flashed and failed. Armor melted under sustained fire. But the captain kept flying forward, weapons still blazing. "Hull breaches on multiple decks," Young-ho reported matter-of-factly. "Life support failing. It has been an honor serving with you all." Through the tactical display, Hyunwoo watched as Young-ho aimed his dying ship directly at one of the massive command organisms they had identified earlier, the ones that coordinated groups of smaller bioships. The captain did not try to turn away or slow down. The collision happened at tremendous speed. The Daegu Sentinel struck the command organism dead center. The ship's reactor went critical on impact. The explosion was bright enough to temporarily blind sensors. When the light faded, the command organism was gone. So were 17 smaller Voidborn ships that had been too close to the blast. And in the chaos that followed, a clear path opened through the enemy formation. "Go!" Hyunwoo shouted. "Ji-won Sungmin, move now!" The Busan runner shot forward like an arrow released from a bow. Behind it, the Mercy of Jeju followed as closely as it dared. The other 8 human ships spread out, attacking from multiple angles to keep the Voidborn distracted. Ji-won's piloting was poetry written in violence and mathematics. She threaded through gaps that should not have existed, banking around bioship tendrils with meters to spare. Behind her, Sungmin struggled to keep up, his larger, heavier medical frigate taking hits that would have destroyed most vessels. Shields at 60%, Sungmin's tactical officer reported. "Keep going," the captain ordered. "We are not there yet." They penetrated deeper into the swarm. The Voidborn were all around them now, attacking from every direction. The Busan runner twisted and dodged, but the Mercy of Jeju had to rely on its shields and armor. Each hit made the frigate shudder. Captain Minna's voice suddenly crackled over the channel. Her ship, Gwangju's Defiance, had lost its maneuvering thrusters. "I am dead in space," she said. "They are closing in. Eject your crew," Hyunwoo ordered immediately. "Get them to escape pods." "Escape pods will not outrun the Voidborn, sir." Minna sounded eerily calm. "But my main reactor is still online, and there's another command organism about 3,000 kilometers from my position." Hyunwoo felt his chest tighten. He knew what she was suggesting. "Captain Minna, do not tell my family I love them," she interrupted. "All crew evacuate immediately." Captain's orders. "You have 30 seconds. On the tactical display, Hyunwoo watched as life pods began launching from Gwangju's Defiance. The Voidborn ships paused their attack, momentarily confused by the smaller targets. That confusion bought just enough time for the escape pods to scatter in different directions. And then Minna did what Young-ho had done. She aimed her powerless ship at the command organism using nothing but her remaining attitude thrusters. When she got close enough, she overloaded the reactor. The second massive explosion ripped through the Voidborn formation. More bioships died. More coordination was disrupted. "Approaching deployment point," Ji-won announced. Her voice was strained. The Busan runner had taken damage too. Coolant was leaking from the engines. Hull plates had been torn away. "Mercy of Jeju shields at 20%, Sungmin reported. "But we are here." Beginning deployment. The medical frigate released Sujin's weapon. It was not a dramatic launch, just a simple mechanical arm extending the device away from the ship's hull. But what happened next was dramatic indeed. The weapon activated. Energy pulsed outward in waves that human eyes could not see but sensors could detect. It was not an electromagnetic pulse. It was something stranger, a disruption of the quantum entanglement that connected all Voidborn organisms across space. Every bioship within 1,000 kilometers suddenly went dark. They did not explode or die. They just stopped moving, stopped coordinating, stopped being part of the swarm mind. For the first time since the battle began, the Voidborn acted like individuals instead of a unified force. "And individuals could panic. It is working," Sungmin shouted triumphantly. But the triumph lasted only 3 seconds. Then the Mercy of Jeju began to shake violently. Alarms blared across every system. "We are caught in the backlash," Sungmin's tactical officer screamed. "The pulse is feeding back through our systems." "Shut it down," Hyunwoo ordered. "Cannot shut it down, sir," Sungmin replied. His voice was calm again, accepting. "The weapon is designed to run until it exhausts its power supply, and we are too close to it. The feedback is tearing our systems apart." Through the video link, Hyunwoo could see Sungmin's bridge. Consoles were exploding. Crew members were working frantically to control the damage, but everyone could see it was hopeless. "Captain Sungmin, evacuate your crew," Hyunwoo said. "That is a direct order." "Negative, sir." Sungmin looked directly into the camera. "If we evacuate now, the Voidborn will destroy the escape pods before they get far. The weapon needs another 90 seconds to complete its cycle. We will keep our shields up to protect it for those 90 seconds. Sungmin, sir, I have a daughter. Her name is Hyejin. She is 7 years old." The captain smiled slightly. "I promised her I would help save the galaxy. I need to keep that promise." Tell her I kept it." The video link went dead as the Mercy of Jeju's power systems failed. For 90 more seconds, the medical frigate drifted in space, its shields flickering but holding. The weapon continued to pulse. Voidborn ships continued to drift in confusion. 6 days passed faster than anyone wanted. The massive galactic fleet moved into position near the terminus gate, a swirling purple wound in space where the Voidborn would emerge. 4,000 ships arranged themselves in perfect military formation, just like the Council had planned. The biggest ships formed the center, with smaller vessels protecting the flanks. Captain Hyun-woo watched from the bridge of Seoul's Pride, positioned exactly 3 light minutes away as ordered. At this distance, the Allied fleet looked like a cloud of stars, beautiful and powerful. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, checking weapons and running system diagnostics for the 100th time. All ships report ready. Lieutenant Commander Ji-won's voice came through the communication channel. Her corvette Busan Runner was the fastest ship in the human fleet, designed for quick strikes and rapid escapes. Confirmed, added Captain Taemin from the destroyer Incheon's Hammer. His ship had the most powerful weapons among the human vessels. Commander Soo-jin stood next to Hyun-woo's command chair, her eyes fixed on multiple screens showing data streams. She had barely slept in 6 days working on her secret weapon. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but they still burned with intensity. Is it ready? Hyun-woo asked quietly so only she could hear. Yes, Soo-jin replied, but I need to be close to the Voidborn to deploy it. Very close. Before Hyun-woo could respond, alarms began blaring across every ship in the galaxy. The terminus gate flared with dark purple light. Reality itself seemed to tear open like old fabric. The Voidborn were arriving. The first ships that emerged looked like something from a nightmare. They were not built, they were grown. Organic hulls pulsed with diseased light. Long tendrils trailed behind them like the tentacles of deep-sea creatures. Each ship was different, as if they had evolved rather than been constructed. Counting enemy vessels, a Krillian controller announced over the fleet-wide channel. 300, 400, 500 contacts. The number stopped climbing at 543 Voidborn ships. Ambassador Krell's voice boomed triumphantly across all channels. Is that all? We outnumber them 8-1. All ships advance and engage. The galactic fleet surged forward like a metal tide. The largest dreadnoughts led the charge, their weapons already firing beams of energy that could vaporize mountains. Missiles streaked across the void in swarms. The Voidborn ships scattered, seeming to flee from the overwhelming force. Something is wrong, Soo-jin muttered, studying her displays intensely. What do you see? Hyun-woo asked, leaning closer. The Voidborn are not fighting back hard enough. They are leading the fleet forward away from the gate. Hyun-woo felt ice form in his stomach. It is a trap. As if responding to his words, space itself tore open in 12 different locations around the Allied fleet. Not near the terminus gate, behind them, above them, below them. From every direction except the way they had come. And from each new tier, Voidborn ships poured out like angry hornets from a destroyed nest. Hundreds became thousands. The smaller force the Allies had been chasing was just bait. All ships fall back. Ambassador Krell's triumphant voice had changed to pure panic. Retreat to defensive positions. But it was too late. The galactic fleet was surrounded and spread out from their charge. The Voidborn attacked from all sides at once. The careful military formation collapsed into chaos. Hyun-woo watched in horror as the slaughter began. A massive Krillian dreadnought, 3 kilometers long and covered in heavy armor, disappeared under a swarm of smaller Voidborn ships. They covered its hull like insects, their organic weapons eating through metal and energy shields. Within seconds, the dreadnought exploded in a ball of fire that consumed dozens of ships around it. The beautiful crystal ships of the Valkyrie tried to form a defensive wall, but Voidborn bioweapons shattered them like glass hammers. The graceful vessels broke apart in clouds of glittering fragments that had once been living beings. Smaller ships fared even worse. Corvettes and frigates were destroyed so quickly, they barely had time to send distress signals. The communication channels filled with screams, desperate orders, and final messages from dying crews. Sir, should we advance to help? Taemin's voice cut through the chaos. Hyun-woo gripped his command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. Every instinct screamed at him to rush in and help. But rushing in blindly would only add 12 more destroyed ships to the count. Negative, he forced himself to say. Hold position. Soo-jin analyzed their attack patterns. Find me a weakness. The battle, if it could even be called that, continued for 18 more minutes. The galactic fleet fought bravely but uselessly. Their tactics were designed for fighting other organized militaries, not a swarm of predators that attacked from all angles at once. Ships designed to stand in formation and exchange fire at long range were torn apart when enemies appeared right on top of them. Admiral Dae-hyun's face appeared on every human ship's screen. The old man looked like he had aged 10 years in the last 20 minutes. All human vessels, this is Fleet Command. You are ordered to retreat immediately. Fall back to Rally Point Delta 7. Do not engage the enemy. Repeat. Do not engage. The communication channel closed before anyone could respond. It was a direct order from the highest authority. They had to obey. Except Hyunwoo was not planning to obey. Did everyone hear that order? He asked calmly on the human fleet's private channel. Yes, sir, came the replies one after another. Good. Now forget you heard it. Hyunwoo stood up from his chair. We did not come this far to run away. We did not join this fight to watch from a safe distance while good people die. Captain, Jiwon said, her voice tight but controlled. There are 10,000 void-born ships out there. We are 12. I can count, Commander. Hyunwoo looked at Sujin. Tell me your weapon works. Sujin pulled up a complex diagram on the main screen. The void-born are not individual ships. They are connected, sharing one mind across all vessels through something like telepathy. I have designed a pulse that will disrupt their connection temporarily. It will stun them, break their coordination. For how long? Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe 30. I do not know exactly. And to use this weapon, we need to get close to them? Very close. Right into the middle of their swarm. The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Getting close to the Voidborn was suicide. But staying away while the galaxy burned was something worse than death. Captain Taemin's voice came through, rough but steady. I did not join the military to die in bed as an old man. My destroyer has good armor. We can take some hits. My corvette is fastest, Jiwon added. We can navigate through their formations. One by one, the other captains voiced their agreement. Captain Young-ho, usually the quietest of them all, spoke last. My grandmother once told me a story. She said that when humans first learned to make fire, they became the most dangerous creatures on Earth. Not because fire made them stronger, but because it showed they could control something that terrified everyone else. He paused. Today we show the galaxy what fire looks like. Hyunwoo felt pride swell in his chest. These people, his people, understood. They had always been the underdogs. Earth's entire history was a story of surviving against impossible odds. They carried that history in their blood. Sujin, prepare your weapon, Hyunwoo commanded. All ships split into attack groups. We use hit-and-run tactics. Strike fast, strike hard, and do not stay in one place. The Voidborn hunt like pack animals, so we hunt them the same way. What about Admiral Daehyun's orders? Asked Captain Bo-ra from the science vessel Ulsan Explorer. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. The Admiral ordered us to retreat. He did not order us to retreat immediately. We will retreat, eventually, after we bloody their nose. He pulled up the tactical map showing the swirling chaos of the battle. The Galactic fleet was down to maybe 1,000 functional ships now. The Voidborn were everywhere, overwhelming through sheer numbers and brutal efficiency. There, Sujin said, pointing to a section where Voidborn ships were clustering around disabled alien vessels. Those groups have broken off from the main swarm to feed. They are vulnerable. Then that is where we start. Hyunwoo sat back down in his command chair. All ships prepare for combat approach. Target the isolated groups. Make them notice us. Make them remember that humanity does not hide. The 12 human ships changed course, turning away from safety and toward the killing ground. Their engines flared bright against the darkness of space. Behind them, in the chaos of the dying galactic fleet, a few alien crews noticed the small human vessels advancing when everyone else was fleeing. Some thought the humans were fools. Others thought they were insane. They were both wrong. The humans were just being human. And the Voidborn were about to learn what that meant. The smallest fleet accelerated toward the enemy. Their weapons charged. Their crews ready. The fire was about to be unleashed. The 12 human ships split into 4 groups as they approached the battlefield. Captain Hyunwoo watched his tactical display update with their positions. 3 ships per group. Enough firepower to hurt, small enough to move fast. Lieutenant Commander Jiwon led Group 1 with her corvette Busan Runner. She took the first strike. Her target was a cluster of 30 Voidborn ships feeding on the remains of a destroyed Valkyrie cruiser. The bioships were distracted, tearing apart the wreckage to consume its materials. Approaching weapons range, Jiwon's tactical officer reported. Hold fire, Jiwon ordered. Get closer. Wait until they notice us. The Busan Runner and its 2 companion ships slipped through a debris field, using the floating wreckage as cover. When they emerged, They were less than 5,000 kilometers from the feeding Voidborn, practically touching distance in space combat. The bioships noticed them immediately. Long tendrils whipped around, pointing toward the human vessels. High-pitched shrieks echoed across radio frequencies as the Voidborn communicated with their swarm. 20 of the 30 ships abandoned their feeding and turned to pursue these new targets. Now they are interested, Jiwan said calmly. Full reverse thrust. Lead them away from the others. Her corvette spun around and accelerated away from the main battle. The Voidborn ships gave chase, their organic forms rippling as they built up speed. They were fast, faster than most ships in the galaxy. But the Busan Runner was not most ships. It had been designed by engineers who studied Earth's fastest birds and fish, learning how nature perfected speed. The chase led toward a massive debris field, the remains of a Krillian dreadnought that had been destroyed in the first minutes of battle. Huge chunks of metal tumbled slowly through space, some pieces as large as buildings. Helm, take us through the field, G1 ordered. Maximum speed. Ma'am, at this velocity, one collision will destroy us. Then do not collide. The Busan Runner dove into the debris field like a bird diving into a forest. Metal fragments flashed past the windows so close the crew could see the scorch marks on their surfaces. The helmsman's hands moved across the controls with desperate precision, adjusting course every second to avoid destruction. Behind them, the Voidborn followed without hesitation. But their larger, less maneuverable forms crashed into debris they could not avoid. The first bioship hit a tumbling engine section and split apart. Two more collided with each other while trying to navigate around a massive hull fragment. When G1 emerged from the other side of the field, only 12 Voidborn remained in pursuit. And they were angry now, their shrieks becoming higher and more frantic. All ships, flip and engage, G1 commanded. The 3 human vessels reversed direction so quickly the inertial dampeners screamed in protest. Crew members were pressed into their seats with crushing force. But the maneuver worked. Suddenly the hunters became the hunted. Point defense cannons opened fire. Missiles launched in carefully aimed volleys. The Voidborn ships, still moving at high speed, flew directly into the barrage. Their organic armor absorbed some hits, but not enough. 3 bioships exploded immediately. 5 more were damaged and fell behind, trailing fluids that might have been blood. The remaining 4 Voidborn tried to scatter, but G1 had planned for that. Her companion ships were positioned perfectly to catch them in a crossfire. Within 30 seconds, all 4 were burning wrecks, Group 1 reporting. G1 announced on the fleet channel. 16 enemy ships destroyed. 0 losses. Captain Hyunwoo allowed himself a tight smile. 1 ambush successful. But this was just the beginning. Group 2, led by Captain Tae Min, approached their target from below the main battle. Their objective was different, not to kill but to distract and confuse. Charging main cannon, Tae Min's weapons officer reported. The destroyer Inchin's hammer had the most powerful, single weapon in the human fleet, a magnetic accelerator that could fire a projectile at a significant fraction of light speed. Their target was one of the largest Voidborn organisms anyone had seen. It looked less like a ship and more like a floating mountain of diseased flesh. Smaller bioships orbited around it like moons, seemingly receiving orders from the massive central creature. That must be a command organism. Sujin's voice came through the channel from Seoul's Pride. Like a queen bee or a wolf pack leader. If you can damage it, the smaller ships will break formation to protect it. Copy that, Tae Min replied. Main cannon ready, firing. The projectile launched silently in the vacuum of space. It was just a dense metal slug, but it was moving at such incredible speed that when it hit, the kinetic energy released was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The round struck the command organism dead center. A massive wound opened in its side, spraying biological matter into space. The creature's shriek of pain was so loud it overloaded radio receivers across the battlefield. Immediately, hundreds of smaller Voidborn ships broke away from their attacks on the fleeing galactic fleet. They swarmed toward Group 2 like white blood cells rushing to fight an infection. Here they come, Tae Min observed. All ships execute scatter pattern Delta. Make them chase 3 targets instead of 1. The 3 ships of Group 2 split apart, each moving in a different direction. The Voidborn swarm divided to pursue all 3. But now, instead of hundreds attacking together, they were in smaller groups that could be defeated. The human ships did not try to outrun their pursuers. Instead, they led them on wild chases through the debris and chaos of the larger battle. When a group of Voidborn got too close, the human ships would suddenly reverse course, unleash their weapons, and then flee again before the bioships could recover. It was not the way the Galactic Council fought wars. They believed in standing your ground, meeting your enemy in direct combat. But humans had learned different lessons. On Earth, the strongest did not always survive. The smartest did. The most adaptable did. Group 3, under Captain Young-Ho's command, employed even stranger tactics. They identified a Voidborn cluster that was pursuing a damaged alien carrier trying to escape. The carrier was a Velkari vessel, its crystal hull cracked and leaking atmosphere. Cut engines, Young-Ho ordered. Shut down everything except life support. Make us look like just another piece of debris. The Daegu Sentinel and its companion ships went dark. They drifted through space, seemingly lifeless. The Voidborn ships passed within 2,000 kilometers, completely ignoring the wreckage. When the bioships were focused entirely on the fleeing carrier, Young-Ho struck. All systems full power. Fire everything. The human ships came alive like wakening predators. At point-blank range, their weapons tore into the surprised Voidborn. It was like an ancient submarine ambush, a tactic humans had perfected in Earth's oceans centuries ago. The Voidborn never saw it coming. By the time they realized the debris was actually enemy ships, half their formation was already destroyed. Meanwhile, Captain Hyunwoo led Group 4, the flagship Soul's Pride and 2 escort vessels, in a different kind of mission. They were not trying to kill large numbers of enemies. They were studying them. Sujin, what do you need? Hyunwoo asked. The tactical officer was surrounded by holographic displays showing Voidborn biosignatures, communication patterns, and movement data. I need to understand their coordination better. Can you get me closer? I need to see how they react when they are under stress. Closer. Of course, Hyunwoo shook his head. Helm, take us into that mess. The Soul's Pride advanced directly toward a large cluster of Voidborn ships. As they got closer, Hyunwoo noticed something interesting. The bioships moved together like a school of fish, flowing around obstacles with perfect synchronization. When one changed direction, others adjusted instantly. They are sharing information faster than light, Sujin muttered, her eyes fixed on the data. Not radio. Not any technology we understand. It is something biological, like they are all parts of one giant brain. An alarm blared. 20 Voidborn ships had noticed Soul's Pride and were moving to intercept. Weapons, fire warning shots, Hyunwoo ordered. Make them scatter. Sujin, watch what happens when we break their formation. The flagship's cannons fired, deliberately missing but coming close enough to force the bioships to dodge. And when they dodged, something fascinating happened. For just a moment, their perfect coordination broke. Individual ships moved slightly differently from their neighbors. There, Sujin exclaimed. When they are forced to react quickly, the connection weakens. They have to think for themselves briefly before the swarm mind takes over again. Can you use that? Yes. If I can generate a strong enough disruption pulse, I can force all of them to disconnect at once. But I need to do it from inside their formation. The pulse will not travel far enough otherwise. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. He had suspected it would come to this. How close? 1,000 kilometers. Maybe less. 1,000 kilometers meant being completely surrounded by enemies. It meant no escape route. It meant almost certain death, understood. Start preparing your weapon. We will get you close when the time is right. For another hour, the 12 human ships danced through the chaos of battle. They hit and ran, ambushed and retreated, destroyed targets and vanished before retaliation could come. The Voidborn were beginning to learn that these small ships were dangerous. The grand chamber of Nexus Prime Station stretched as far as the eye could see. Thousands of alien beings filled the space, their voices creating a noise that sounded like ocean waves crashing against rocks. Some had scales that glittered under the bright lights. Others floated in tanks of colored liquid. A few looked almost normal except for their extra arms or strange colored skin. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the human section, wearing his best uniform. The dark blue fabric had small medals on the chest, earned from 20 years of service in space. His black hair had streaks of gray now, and his face showed lines from stress and too many sleepless nights. Next to him stood Admiral Dae-hyun, an older man with calm eyes that missed nothing. The meeting had been going on for 3 hours. Every species in the galaxy had sent representatives to discuss the same terrifying topic. The Voidborn were coming. These creatures had already destroyed 6 star systems, eating everything in their path like hungry locusts. Planets, ships, space stations, nothing survived when they arrived. A tall, insect-like alien named Ambassador Krell stood at the center podium. His voice came out in clicks and buzzes, but the translator devices made it sound like normal speech. "The defense fleet is ready," he announced proudly. 4,000 ships from across the galaxy. The largest military force ever assembled. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Some aliens waved their appendages in celebration. Others made strange sounds that must have been their version of clapping. Admiral Dae-hyun stepped forward to the human microphone. The noise died down slowly as thousands of alien eyes turned to look at him. Many of those eyes showed curiosity. Some showed pity. A few showed barely hidden amusement. "Earth wishes to contribute to the defense," Dae-hyun said clearly. His voice did not shake even though Hyunwoo knew the man was tired. "We are sending our entire available fleet to join the fight. How many ships can humanity provide?" asked Ambassador Krell, his mandibles clicking with what might have been interest. 12 ships, Dae-hyun replied. Silence fell over the chamber for exactly 3 seconds. Then laughter began. It started small, just a few snickers from the back rows. But it grew quickly, spreading through the crowd like fire through dry grass. The insect aliens made chittering sounds. The floating ones in their tanks bubbled with what must have been humor. Even the dignified crystal beings from Velkar allowed themselves small chiming sounds that indicated amusement. 12? Ambassador Krell repeated. Did the translation error occur? No error, Dae-hyun said, his face showing no emotion. Earth has 12 ships available for this mission. More laughter. A large reptilian delegate actually slapped his tail against the floor. We have individual battle groups larger than your entire contribution, he said between his laughs. A graceful alien woman made of what looked like living crystal stepped forward. Her name was Envoy Lyra, and she was considered one of the kindest beings in the council. Even she seemed unable to hide her doubt. Perhaps, she said gently, it would be better if Earth's forces remained behind. This battle will be very dangerous. You could observe and learn from a safe distance. Hyunwoo felt his jaw tighten. He had expected this reaction, but hearing it still made his blood heat with anger. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for only 30 years. To these ancient civilizations, humanity was barely a child playing with toys. Admiral Dae-hyun bowed slightly. We understand your concern. However, Earth insists on participating. Our ships and crews are ready. Ambassador Krell waved one of his arms dismissively. Very well. If you insist on joining, we will find a suitable position for your fleet. The way he said the word fleet made it clear he was being polite. You will be assigned to auxiliary support, protection duty for the supply convoys, far from the actual battle where you will be safe. The meeting continued for another hour, but nobody asked Earth's opinion about strategy or tactics. When the defensive plan was shown on the massive holographic display, the 12 human ships appeared as tiny dots far away from the main battle formation. They were positioned 3 light minutes from where the fighting would happen. Basically useless. Basically decorations. When the meeting finally ended, Hyunwoo and Dae-hyun walked through the station's corridors in silence. Other aliens passed them, still chuckling about the human contribution to the defense. A group of young Krillian warriors actually pointed at them while making jokes in their language. Back aboard the human flagship Soul's Pride, Hyunwoo immediately called a meeting of all ship commanders. The holographic conference room filled with images of the other captains. There was Lieutenant Commander Ji-won, young and fierce, commanding the fastest ship in their small fleet. Captain Taemin appeared next, his broad shoulders and scarred face showing he had survived many battles. Captain Minna, steady and reliable. Captain Young-ho, always calm under pressure. Captain Sung-min, who ran the medical frigate. And several others. They put us on babysitting duty, Ji-won said immediately, her voice sharp with frustration. 3 light minutes away. We might as well have stayed home. They do not take us seriously, Taemin added, crossing his arms. To them, we are children with toy weapons. Admiral Dae-hyun's hologram appeared at the head of the table. They judge us by our numbers, he said quietly. They think power only comes from size. They have forgotten that the strongest predators are not always the largest. Commander Soo-jin, the tactical officer aboard Soul's Pride, pulled up her analysis on the shared screen. She was younger than most of the other officers, but her mind worked faster than anyone Hyunwoo had ever met. "I have been studying the Voidborn attack patterns," she said. "There is something the other species are missing. The Voidborn do not attack like a normal military force. They attack like hunters, like wolves." "Explain," Hyunwoo said, leaning forward. Sujin highlighted several points on the tactical map. "Every time the Voidborn have struck, they appear in smaller numbers first. The defending forces think they are winning. Then, when everyone is committed to the battle, more Voidborn appear from different directions. It is a trap, an ambush." The room went quiet as everyone absorbed this information. "And you think they will do this again?" Taehyun asked. "I am certain of it," Sujin replied. "The Council's battle plan puts all 4,000 ships in one location. If the Voidborn surround them..." She did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. It would be a slaughter. Hyunwoo looked at each captain's face on the holographic display. "We follow our orders," he said slowly. "We stay in our assigned position. But we stay ready. We keep our weapons hot and our engines warm. If things go wrong, when things go wrong, we will not run." "Sir," Jiwon said, "there are only 12 of us." 12 ships, Hyunwoo agreed. "But we are human. Our ancestors survived ice ages with nothing but stone tools. They crossed oceans in wooden boats. They went to space in metal cans held together with hope and mathematics. We have always been the smallest and the weakest. And we are still here." He stood up straighter. "The galaxy is about to learn something important. Size does not matter. Numbers do not matter. What matters is whether you are willing to fight when everyone else says you should run." The captains nodded one by one. They understood. They had all grown up hearing the stories of Earth's bloody history. Humanity had spent thousands of years fighting wars against enemies, nature, and itself. They knew how to survive impossible situations. "One more thing," Sujin said quietly. "I have been working on something. A weapon based on the Voidborn's biology. It is not ready yet, but if we have time..." "Make it ready," Hyunwoo ordered. "We have 6 days until the Voidborn arrive. Use every second." The meeting ended. Hyunwoo stood alone in the conference room after everyone disconnected. Through the window, he could see the massive alien fleet gathering in the distance. Thousands of ships, each one bigger and more powerful than anything Earth could build. 12 ships against the darkness. It would have to be enough. It would be enough.